Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soul Creativity. Naven here. Thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that the comment section is up. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask them or post them during the show. And I'm super excited for our guest this evening, Dr. Susan Kaye. And Dr. Susan has a new book out just on the market at the beginning of the month. And I'm glad you have a copy because my copy isn't here
Oh,
yet. And usually I hold them up. So I'm glad that you have it. I would really like to start talking about your book, first of all, because I love the title and I think it's an amazing subject. And I know there was a journey for you in getting to, until you were ready to write the book. So if you can tell us a little bit about the book and what drew you to writing it, I think that's a good place for us to start.
okay, Nathan. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me and sharing me with your audience. I'm super excited to bring the message of my life's work, really. I mean, it's a 30 to 35-year project, which I didn't embark on. I didn't know that this would be the outcome of my drivenness. It was just like every door opened, the path opened for me to do this work. Everything fell into place, the people, the situations, and the wonderful, wonderful clients who are, it's their stories. And I think everyone will see themselves somewhere in this story because that's what I've heard in my office every day is, am I normal if? Am I normal if I like to do this, or I want to dress like this, or I want to make love like this, or I want to, my eyebrows are crooked. I need to get my eyebrow. That box called normal, it just sucks us in. And then we live in this space with ourselves with comparison or not good enough, or I wish I looked like that. I wish I had that. It's this whole thing we do to ourselves. And so, yes, we released the book on July 4th. So we declared it Independence Day from the box called Normal. And now we can all just explore and uncover what's natural for what I call you with you or me with me.
Mhm. I really like that title because it really, resonated. And you just think of all the years and different times when things have come up and we all wonder, is it normal to think this or do this? And I was thinking how it's, how we're told to be normal doesn't really come from us. It comes from outside of us,
Yeah.
whether it's marketers or organizations or families or religion. It seems like we're always told, but
Yeah.
we don't really get to decide that for ourselves. So I really like that title and I really like the idea of getting out of the box called normal.
Mm.
And I think along with that are the labels that we accumulate or get placed on us when and put us in that box in the first place. So I want to say I want to really thank you for joining us today and talking about the book because I feel like it's really important,
Thank you.
especially right now when we have an opportunity when things are shifting and we have an opportunity to jump out of that box and
Yes,
find our own
we
authenticity.
do. Let's hope we're creating a brand new world that that speaks to individuality and autonomy and love and respect for each other.
Do, do you think that I know, because you're working with relationships, and of course, the first and most important relationship is the relationship with ourselves. And can you talk about that a little bit and why that's important, and maybe why a lot of us don't stop to consider that relationship?
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so I think the second chapter in the book is you with you. And that's where it really starts. And that's where we start with each client, no matter what question, concern, fear, confusion is walking in the door. We start with what's going on with you with you. And it really starts from early messages of what they were living with or living inside of this first 7 years. And that really the Bible says, give me a child for the first 7 years and I will show you, train up a child for 7 years and I will show you the man. And so it's where did we get held? Were we nurtured? Did we come home from the hospital with mom, or were we in an incubator by ourselves for several weeks? All these factors do create the 55-year-old virgin sitting in front of me, because we get these wired into us centrally because our cognition isn't on board. So what those messages are is, how did we feel? What were the smells? What were the sounds? Those sensory early memories that get locked in. And as the saying is now, I didn't coin it, but it came out way after I was saying it, is the issue is in the tissue. And so by using bodywork practitioners, along with neck up, we call them the neck up folks and the neck down folks. So working together with finding out through touch, what is it that's trapped that I need to get to before I can then take a healthy self to another relationship. And that's one of the other chapters, is you with others.
Mm-hmm. I think that's, first of all, interesting. I was born premature and was in the hospital for a month before I got to come home. But you're talking about being nurtured, and it makes me think, and you're talking about touch, so it makes me think about feelings, and also about nature, and even like wild nature, being out in the wild and interacting with nature. But I know just in our own relationships and in our own makeup, you talk about nature and nurture and how we have to kind of grow up now between the two of those. And can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I actually added another third and I call it my thirds theory. And I have a trademark patent on it, because it's really what set me down this path. I had professorship in early 2000s, and the gay lesbian question was a hot item then. Like, why are people gay? Are they making it up so they can get attention? Is it absentee fathers? Is it, something that people really do have at birth? And so I walked to the blackboard. Yes, we actually had blackboards back in the early 2000s, which I love. That's why I went into teaching, so I could write on the blackboard. Then they took my blackboard away with a whiteboard, and then they took that away with an overhead thing. I'm like, I quit. I came here to write on the blackboard. So you'll see it in the book. I drew a circle, and I made like a peace sign. So it had thirds, right? And so on one third side, I wrote, this is what you're born with. This is your nature. You have no say. It's when an egg and a sperm get together, and genetics from 7 generations or whatever they've decided now is what you get. And then on the other third was your nurturing. And so where did you grow up? Harlem or Hollywood, right? Location. Like you had no say over that either. And did your mom read stories at night, or were you home alone a lot, or did you feel lost and neglected inside of a family of 7 children? I mean, those are things that we don't have any say or control over. So the third part down the bottom, I call plain damn you. It's what you came in with, your gifts, your talents, your needs, your wants, your desires, all that only your fingerprint can bring to the planet. Everything that you are here to know about yourself, about this crazy world we live in, all the options that are here. Like, how do we know what to pick and choose that fits our plain damn you, and not our nature that we were born with? That maybe we have alcoholism in our family. My father's an alcoholic. My grandfather, I guess I'm an alcoholic. No, you can choose to throw that out. And then with your nurturing, well, I grew up in a family that said girls don't go to college. And so do you overcome that and get yourself beyond what your nurturing gave you, and stick to and work with plain damn you.
So that kind of sounds like getting out of the box again.
Exactly.
Getting out of the box that you were put in somewhere along that line. There were a couple things you said that, first of all, about the first 7 years. And I find that so interesting because, at least the way I heard it, is this first 7 years you're in theta brain. And so you just take in everything as a sponge.
Right.
And also, different things that the children in that age group up until 7, there's like a responsibility. I think when they hear stuff, they think it relates to them sometimes, even if it doesn't, because they're just absorbing it in if it's around them.
Right.
I'm not sure if that's correct, but I believe that's what. So it's just amazing to me how important those first 7 years are, and how much better things could be if everyone was aware of that. But you don't necessarily hear that talked about unless you're talking to somebody who's in psychology or maybe in some type of work with children. So I think that's important, and it's just too bad the message isn't out there as much as we would like. And then another thing you were talking about, like if you're in a family where women don't go to college, it just reminded me of a little story I heard you telling before too about your own experience, because going to college, it really wasn't even an option for women, or if you did, it wasn't all that long ago. I think you had to have like your husband's permission, or you only had several fields to choose from.
Very true. Very true.
And I wondered if you had any of that experience, or if you know other people, and how did they overcome it? Was it just in that bottom part where they say, I'm not accepting this, I'm going my own way?
Well, it takes a little bit more than that. And that's why we have teams of people. We have neck up folks who are psychiatrists, doctors, medical doctors, basic therapists or trauma therapists. We have EMDR folks that work with you on what's going on here in your thought life. And then we have folks who do hands-on work that are cuddle therapists. Let's see, we even have people who are hairdressers that take you in and fix up, like help you with your hair, or take you shopping for clothing, come in and look at your apartment or house and see what could be changed up to make it more welcoming, and to make you feel more like, you put on a different shirt and you feel like a different person. I had a guy that came in all buttoned up, suit and tie, and, buttoned up to the neck, and wingtips all tied real tight. And he's sitting there and he's all stiff, and he's telling me, how his love life isn't. And so, well, as he was leaving, he made another point, and I said, when you come back next time, I want you to have bought a pair of loafers. And just wear loafers. And he looked at me like, loafers, He came in, and it was a couple of weeks, and he had on like this fun shirt and, loose jeans and loafers. He goes, loafers. And he goes, you changed my life just from changing his shoes. Mm-hmm. And so it is looking back. Where did you get these habits? Are they serving you? Are they family messages that you're trying to jam yourself into and not be celebrating the unique being that you are? We are all unique. We're snowflakes. We're leaves on a tree. Nature is diverse. Every flower that's different. Why do we all think we need to be the same or fit into whoever calls that box normal? And we have to fit into that box. So it goes back through history. I mean, we've wiped out civilizations because they weren't like us or normal. Mm-hmm. And we're still hurting each other and wiping each other out with, oh, you can't do that. That's not normal.
Right. Yeah, you don't fit into that. It doesn't fit the story that we have going on. Yeah. It's outside the story, I guess you can say, too, as far as being outside, getting outside of the box to get outside of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how, when we do get out of that box, and so I'm glad you mentioned like all the different teams you have working, because in my experience, just to always tell yourself that can be a start, to be aware of it. Right. And catch yourself when you're having, thoughts that don't serve you. You hear that story repeating, but I think it is very hard just to think it and move past it. Like, it seems like there needs to be some other steps in there for us to really make it a permanent change, or at least, most of it.
You need support, and teamwork is always better than trying to do something on your own. And then you build a community of folks that are supporting you and that they can always come back to.
Right. I was thinking of how you were saying you could put on a new shirt. It is amazing sometimes how something like that, or a pair of shoes, will make you feel really different.
Right.
And I was reading studies before about, I think it was Moshe Feldenkrais, who did studies with movement. And he started doing it for an injury for himself, but then he moved into working with people. And I don't know if it was necessarily under the umbrella of psychology, but it may have been. And so to help people change, they would just go outside and maybe, jump off the curb instead of walk, or, how they tell you drive a different route to work.
Right.
Not to stay in that same pattern. And so I'm wondering if that helps to redirect the brain, like the neural pathways in the brain, when you start to do something different, shake things up somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. We know now, I didn't know back in the 80s and 90s when I was starting, but we know now that our brain is plastic. It has plasticity, and we can change it up with our thoughts. Our thoughts are the most important thing to evaluate and took a look at. Our thoughts about ourselves, and then how do our thoughts about others come from the thoughts about ourselves. Like, if we're not in joy, then we're probably not looking at joy in how others are with either themselves or with us. And so, yeah, the changes that we know now that can happen from when I first started, and this is ancient wisdom. This goes way back as far as Socrates, or who's the name that folks might know, but it's ancient wisdom from the Greeks and Romans, how they lived and they honored women. Mm-hmm. And we taught children to come up in the world, and we taught them about sex, and they had mentors, and the Native Americans had Quadoshkas who were the teachers, and they were actually the combination of male female, what we know is transgender today, in the Native American tradition, those people were looked at as very honorable because they had both sexes.
Mm-hmm.
They were the teachers of the children. So, we've lost something by not maintaining our history and calling out certain groups or certain out of the box, not normal folks, telling them that you have to fit into this box to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we've lost something inside of our humanity.
Yeah, definitely. And as you're talking about that, it makes me think of that's more balanced, which is always healthier
Right.
than, separating things out and not allowing people to be, who they are. And I think it not just hurts them, but it hurts on a wider scale. It really hurts everyone. It may not be as easy to see, but it obviously affects the whole system. As you're talking about, that normal box, I think along with that, I was saying labeling, and the other part is shoulds. All or the have tos and the shoulds that we all face, and again, that can starts at a very young age, and we carry it with us. So when we're stuck in that mode of I should do this or I have to do this, what do you see that holding us back from, and how is that, not to our benefit, maybe not to the benefit of the greater collective?
Yeah, well, I don't even know how many cases, how many people I've met with over the years whose lives were transformed because they were able to take the courage, take themselves on, and maybe taking on family traditions or taking on religious trainings or taking on their desires for themselves to be who they felt they were inside of a body, like gay, lesbian, or trans, or any number of variations that people are uncovering because we have some permission. Like, people have been fighting for their rights to be who they are. And so we have some permission. And so with a little permission, more has grown out. And, it's just a matter of each of us, like I always say, we each have our own fingerprints, and all the snowflakes are different. So why can't we use that as our model? And I was listening to a podcast today that they were saying that to teach your children on a daily basis that we are only here for a short time. What is it that you want for yourself inside of this short time? Life is unpredictable. And so to stand for yourself, to put yourself on the planet with the gifts and talents that you bring, I think is why we are all here. And it can be more fun when we celebrate the differences.
Mm-hmm.
And our children would be less damaged if they were supported for who they are and what they like and what they don't like. And so it really is global. It really encompasses even those who look like they're normal, and we don't know what they're stressing with or struggling with inside, which could lead to abuse of alcohol and drugs and suicide, and even hurting others because we feel outcasted. And we are tribal. Human beings are tribal, and we need each other. And that would be my most poignant message is, we need to figure out how to take care of each other, no matter what the variety. We like a variety of dogs. We like varieties of our cats and our pets. But why is it that we can't do that for our own human beingness?
yeah, it just seems to bring, for whatever reason, fear, some
Yeah.
type of fear in certain people if everyone isn't exactly the same. But I always feel like when that happens, that particular person must feel very confined in some way,
Yeah.
and has been taught, or you know for some reason believes that if you step out of the narrow path, or the path that you're on, could be dangerous, maybe something will happen to you,
Yeah.
and so they can't accept it in someone else, which is really sad when you were talking about raising your children. And that's such a wonderful idea. What do you want, in the time that you have? Is also, there's so much hate as it is, and unacceptance and judgment that doesn't create a happy life for anyone. The person doing the judging and hating, and the
Mhm.
person on the receiving end. So I'm not sure why anyone would want to keep that going, and especially, to teach their children to hate, because it doesn't help them, it doesn't benefit them in any way.
Yeah. Well, I think your statement about that it comes from fear. Um, and as you're talking, I was thinking about what we did to the Native Americans in not only taking their land and killing half of them, but then we took their children. We made them burn their celebration garbs, and took their children and put them in white schools and made them learn English and not to use their language. So, if we can look at that and say, why do we have to do that? It's just starting to look at the questions that are surrounding us in our history, not only as a nation, as a world, maybe, and as each person individually. Where are those judgments that I've had where I cut someone off because they didn't, quote, fit in?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. And it just makes me think of, sometimes it's just growing your awareness, or a different perspective um, can really make a big change. So you can do it in little doses,
Right.
and try it out and see, the benefits of it. Before we do, and Dr. Susan, I wanted to ask you, and this is a common theme today, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Is, that we were talking about our first relationship, and really responsibility, I would say, is to ourselves before we can move out in a healthy way. Um, but for our own well being, why it is important to nurture our mind, body, and spirit, and to take care of all three.
Yeah. Yeah, it is important to take notice that we are more than our thoughts, because our thoughts can make us crazy and make us do things that are hurtful or harmful to others and ourselves. And so it is looking at a bigger picture, that how I affect myself is then going to affect others around me.
Mhm.
And to have your greatest desire to love yourself. And the opposite of love is fear. And there's books written about that. So are we afraid to step out if we don't love ourselves? Are we afraid to love other people if we don't love ourselves? And I also do wordplay, and love spelled backwards is kind of evolve.
Mhm.
And so I think evolving through love, and love just means acceptance. When they say love your neighbor like yourself, well, it just accept your neighbor. So, he doesn't clean up his leaves in the fall. Whatever, we get mad, or his dog barks all night. That's mine. And so it's like you just accept, like, what can you do? How can you go within yourself and find peace. Because when it comes down to it, yeah, it's great to have you with others, but it really is at that final moment that we leave the planet, it is about you with you. And whatever that spirit that you connect to or believe in, it's just down to you and you with you, and the next level, or the next veil we go through.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's definitely important work, and I really think, maybe it'll change as people in general grow more awareness. But for now, I think these type of books and doctors that are out there can really serve us in getting us on the path to kind of living our best lives, and where we can be the most, I feel like we're more in service than to ourselves and to others when we reach that point that we're not living in the box anymore, or
Very
not from the shoulds and have to.
Just don't should on yourself.
Yeah.
As they say.
That's a good saying too. Will you tell us again the title of your book? And is it still only available on Amazon? Or I know eventually it will.
Oh, it's on Amazon in Kindle and in paperback. Am I Normal If, by Dr. Susan Kaye. And yeah, it's there, Kindle and paperback. Yeah, ready to go.
Will it move to other?
We're working on that. Yeah, we had to get this figured out first, and I am talking to other folks. I think Barnes and Noble picks it up anyway from Amazon, and I'm on my way to Philadelphia. There's a couple of bookstores there, and there's another one called Abe's Books.
Yeah,
it's online, so I'm talking to them. But
okay, yeah, I do. I know Barnes and Noble. I can pretty much always get anything I want there, so it must automatically.
I think they do have a thing with Amazon, and Amazon is in just about every country. When we were setting this up, how many countries Amazon was going to market this book to. At first I was a little overwhelmed. It was like, oh my goodness. And now I have a team in India, that New Delhi, they're attending a medical conference. It's one of our therapists and one of our bodywork practitioners are presenting for an international medical conference that will have 1,000 people there. And they're actually, integrative medicine is here now. And so we're riding on those coattails with integrative therapy. And so we're international, and we're going to have a booth, and the book's going to be there. So it's very exciting.
That's really great. And if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, or look up your work, where they can connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, drsusankaye.com is my personal site. And then our business site that you learn more about who are the neck up folks, who are the neck down folks, is Integrative Mind Body Therapies.com. Integrative Mind Body Therapies.com. And it's on my site too. I think you can find it there.
Okay. And I want to remind everyone, whether you're listening, I say this every week, but whether you're listening now or later, feel free to leave a comment or a question if you have one, and I will make sure that Susan sees it if it comes in after, because a lot of times somebody logs on to watch the show at a later time and has a comment or question. So feel free to leave that. And as always, please like, subscribe, and join us next week. We're going to have the lovely Dawn Mazzone on next week. So I'm looking forward to that. And welcome again, Dr. Susan, for joining us. I hope you'll come back again and talk to us.
Absolutely. See what questions come in from folks, and we can do a show on your
questions. Yeah, that would be a good show.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. Thank everyone who is watching live or who picks the show up later. And we will talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now.